That evening in the kitchen felt like any other at first. I was rinsing dishes, the sound of running water filling the silence. When my stepson came in, he stood there for a moment, fidgeting with his hands, as if gathering courage. Then he asked me a question that made my heart drop and turned an ordinary night into a painful reminder of the cracks already running through my marriage. His voice was quiet, almost hesitant, but there was no mistaking the weight behind his words. He wanted to know why his father seemed so distant, why he often came home late, and whether there was someone else. I froze, my hands tightening around the dish I was holding. I hadn't expected this conversation to come from him, especially not in that moment. My stepson was young, but he wasn't blind. Children have a way of noticing the things adults think they hide well. His question carried more than curiosity. It carried fear, confusion, and a need for honesty. I couldn't bring myself to lie, but I also didn't want to shatter the fragile sense of security he still held. So I took a deep breath, dried my hands, and sat down with him at the small table in the corner of the kitchen. He looked at me with eyes too mature for his age, and I knew he already suspected the truth. I told him gently that sometimes adults make mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes hurt the people who love them most. I explained that it wasn't his fault, nor did it mean his father loved him any less. But I didn't sugarcoat the fact that things between his father and me were not as they should be. His small nod and the way he lowered his gaze told me he understood more than he let on. In that quiet moment, I felt an ache I couldn't describe. It wasn't just the betrayal of my spouse that hurt. It was the way his choices had spilled over and wounded a child who didn't deserve any of this. I wanted to protect my stepson from the truth, but I also knew shielding him entirely would only make him feel more lost. So I answered his questions carefully, offering enough honesty to comfort him, without overwhelming him with details no child should carry. He asked me if I was going to leave, and the question caught me off guard. I realized that what he feared most wasn't the betrayal itself, but losing the little family he had left. I reached out, held his hand, and promised him that no matter what happened between his father and me, I wasn't going to walk away from him. That seemed to bring him a small measure of peace, though I could see the storm still brewing inside him. After he went to his room, I stayed in the kitchen, staring at the unfinished dishes in the sink. His words echoed in my mind, and I felt a mix of anger and sadness. Infidelity doesn't just break a marriage, it fractures the entire family, leaving pieces scattered in places you least expect. My stepson's question had been simple, but it opened up the reality I had been avoiding. The damage was no longer contained between adults. It was bleeding into the life of an innocent child. When my husband finally came home later that night, I looked at him differently. He walked in casually, as though nothing had changed, but everything had. I thought about the question his son had asked me in the kitchen, and I wondered if he had any idea of the pain his actions had caused. I didn't confront him right then. Instead, I let the silence between us grow heavier than words could manage. That night, as I lay awake, I realized something important. My stepson's question had forced me to see the truth I had been trying to avoid. It wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about trust, family, and the innocent hearts caught in the crossfire. His voice, soft yet piercing, lingered with me, reminding me that choices ripple outward in ways we often forget. And as painful as that moment was, it became the turning point where I knew I had to decide, not just for myself, but for the child who had bravely asked me the question no one else would.